Dave here, how are you? Today is the 1st of December 2019, last month of the year, 2020, just around the corner. I hope you've had a great week and you're looking forward to seeing a little bit of Almost Live. Today on the show, I'm trying to spread it around as much as I can. We're going to do some CNC and we're going to do a little bit of tuning on this number 5 and rebuild it from scratch. And I'll give you a couple of tips whilst I was rejuvenating this plane as to a couple of little traps that you might be interested to know. All right, so this week on the show, run the CNC to create the spoil board holes as per last week's discussion. I'm going to show you opening it up in Mach 4, bringing the machine down, how to make it travel really quickly and how to make it reference to all of its X, Y, and Z points. Check the touch plate, turn her on and knock the holes out. So that'll be the first thing that we do. The second thing that we're going to do is we'll probably have a look at some viewers' projects, and I've got 3 viewers who've sent some stuff in, so thank you very much for that. The third, assemble the number 5 turner bench plane from scratch, including a tip for cellulose acetate knobs that shrink. I did mention that. Sharpen a blade and fit it as well. So I have a blade here that I've already flattened the back down here with extra coarse. So we'll just do a coarse, fine and extra fine on that. Take it over to the Pro Edge, take it down to 3000, give it a secondary bevel and then pull it over the strop with the polish. And that is how I get a really, really keen edge. Let me see what else. And support the channel through Patreon, the Amazon links below if you can. Thank you very much. All right, first thing we're going to do, as I said, is head over. I'm just making sure the stream's running okay here. Looks good. Not too bad, this other format. I know that some people will prefer this. Some people will have preferred the chat happening. I did explain the thing with the chat is that the NBN is not connecting here quite yet. That's the National Broadband Network for Australia. I'm on the old system and upload is abysmal. If I'm lucky, I'll get 0.8 of a megabit up in my, and that's no good for video. And lately it's been 0.3 of a megabit up, which is just a joke. Until it's on, this is going to be the format that happens. All right, I'm going to switch you over to the second camera on its own. Oh, before we do that, I'll show you in Aspire how I set it up. Let me see if I can find that camera. I will do a transition. You'll see a whole lot of junk on the screen. Then Aspire will come up. And as I say, I'll bring Aspire up. I should be down in the corner. I don't know which way the pointing it is at the moment because this might be all mirror reversed. So we have here the 2 rows of dog holes and I'm opening that file and you can see if I go to this point in the corner here, this is set the dimensions and the origin. You can see that I'm going to be referencing off this little corner down here. Now my picture is probably covering that, but just under the picture is where the reference point is. The mouse is traveling towards it now, okay? These up here are the, I'll click OK, I'll just cancel, I know what it is. So I'm going to go over to the other side here. That little green dot is basically saying that there is a toolpath that I've already created. So this side here is the drawing section, like the CAD. And then when I click this arrow up the top, I'm going to go to the other side, which is the toolpaths. And this is where I have a look at the vectors. And if I turn that off, you'll see I have all of these holes. And they're 96mm centers in a perfect grid, referencing from that corner again that you can't see. So I'm going to show you a little thing here. Here we go. I double click on that. And it's saying that the cut depth is 19mm. My board I know is 18mm thick, so I'm going to go through it by 1mm more. It's going to take 4 passes. I'm going to use a 3/8 cutter, which is 0.375 inches. I'm telling it kind of half metric, half imperial. You know, the fun of it all. Until I get some full-on metric cutters, this is the way that I have to do it. I'm going to do inside the vector. And to show you a little bit better as to how that's going to happen, that's the vector. The cutter will be traveling on the inside not on the line or not outside the line. It'll be on the inside of the line. So the outside of the cutter will be just cutting nicely along there. Now it's going to also do it in a climb. That's the direction, which means it's going to go the opposite direction to what you would conventionally do. It's cleaner and the machine is strong enough to hold the cutter so it doesn't want to take off on me. If I was using an ordinary router, I would go the other direction always because I'm cutting into it. It's pushing against whatever I'm referencing off. If I go the other way, it's going to want to try and grab and go off with me, and that's a problem. So I can do it with the CNC. So it'll give me a clean cut. I'm using a spiral up cutter, which means as it's turning, it's trying to lift the sawdust up. I will not use the dust extraction hood. I'll turn the dust extractor on, but it will just be kind of blowing away. It'll catch a lot of it, but not all of it, just so for demonstration. And I'll throw a mask on if I can find one as well, because it is MDF. Moving down here, all of the rest of this stuff is fine. Seeing it's a profile toolpath, which up the top here instead of a pocket. Interesting thing. Profile path, it's just going to go down, 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 down in 4 passes. If I was doing a pocket, it would go down, lift up to the safe Z, which down the bottom there is down here. You can see safe Z is 15 millimeters, which means the cutter, the tip of the cutter is going to come up above the board, the job that I'm working on, by 15 millimeters before it travels to do the next hole, and then it will go down. If it was a pocket, it would go down, lift, and then it would go down for the second pass. Remember, there's 4 passes to get through the 18 millimeters, and then it would lift all the way up, and that's a pain. I've got to work out how to get past that. I'm sure someone will say, Dave, this is how you do it, and that'd be great. Okay, so there we go. We've got all of that. I'll shrink these back down again. That's just a matter of pull back on the scroll wheel on the mouse, that little guy there. I just pull back or forwards, push it down on the scroll wheel to move around on the job. These are little things that I didn't really know when I first started. See, that's the scroll wheel pushed down, moving it around. Okay, so now I'm going to say calculate. And it's telling me there's a whole lot of other vectors and they're going to ignore some. And also it's going to tell me it's going to cut through. See there? So look out, Dave. You're going to go through and into the spoil board. Well, it doesn't understand that I'm actually going into the spoil. I'm going into fresh air underneath. But thank you. If I was on top of the spoil board with another job, yes, it would let me know how much I'm going to go through. I say, okay, and that's the path that it's going to take to do these holes. And I can preview it. I'll slow the speed down on the preview. And let's see. Here we go. Oh, wasn't slowed down much at all. It does it quite quickly. All right, now I can say close, and I can have a look at it by pushing the left mouse button and roll it around a little bit, and I can flip it right over to see what's on the other side. Yep, I'm all the way through. Again, if you're watching and you've just tuned in and you think, oh my God, it's CAD and CNC, give me a minute, or maybe 15 minutes, and then we'll be into doing this thing. As I say, trying to balance the show. I want to know how fast it's going to be. I'll click that, and then I'll click this little clock item, and it's telling me it's going to take nearly 5 minutes. And I think it's going to do it quicker than that. It's traveling at 3,000 millimeters a minute, so it's 3 meters a minute. And, you know, that's fine. And then I've saved it already to the toolpath, but I can show you that. So if I say save, it's saving. This is what I've called it. This is the post processor, which basically means that it's going to talk to my machine and Mac 4, because I'm using Mac 4. I used to use Mac 3. I'm learning Mac 4 at the moment. It's taking me a little while, but I'm getting there, and I'll show you through it as we get into it. So it's going to be that. I'm going to save the toolpath, and I think I've got it 2 rows of dog holes in the spoil board. We'll save it not in downloads, but we'll go to my USB, and I've actually called it soil board. Why did I do that? I've already saved it, so there we go. I would say save, and it'd say, oh, you already got the file, Dave, and I'll say, okay, so we'll cancel that and get out of there. So now I can close this, and we're going to say, no, not changing any of that. Go back to the main camera, which is here. So I'm trying to fill you in on the things that are actually happening. So with Aspire, and also now we're going over to the machine. And I need to grab that stick, and we'll go to second camera, which is over there. Here we go. I think everything's still going well. We'll pull that stick out of the machine, and yes, I've still got a video camera over here. All right, first thing I'm going to do is open Mach 4, or Mach 4, whatever you want to call it. Mach door. Sounds like someone out of Avatar, doesn't it? Which way up, David? I think it's this way up. Oop, come on. Okay. I know it's not. All right. So I'm going to turn on the machine. And now it should recognize. I will close that and I'll open it up again. Yes, I do want to exit, and then we're going to open it up again. And this time it'll say everything's fine. No warning saying, oh, you haven't got the machine turned on. I can't talk to the machine. And there we are. Okay, first thing I have to do is enable it. And I'm going to change the units. Well, first thing what we'll do is we'll load the code. And the code is in the USB. And let's go to USB, soil board, and this one. Open. And all that is a text file. And you can see there's all the holes. This is the origin down here. This is all the fancy stuff for the machine to understand where it's going. And we're going to change it to millimeters. Okay, now I'm in metric. Now I'm going to bring the machine back, and I'll come back here a little bit further and possibly raise the camera up if I can. There we go. I don't know if that's going to be all right. I'm going to check on the monitor, see what's happening. Yep, that looks a bit better. All right. Now, if I push this button, the machine comes back reasonably slowly. If I push the shift button and the back, it picks the speed up. To about there, and then across a little. Now what I'm going to do, and I'll turn this around back again so you can see. Again, I'll check the camera to see what's happening. Yeah, it's not a bad vantage point. I'm going to tell the machine to home X, Y, and Z. See this? It's going to send everything back to where it lives. First the Z axis, then the X, until it gets almost to that sensor, and then back to the Y negative. Okay. Referencing is complete. And I'll say, okay, thank you very much for that. Pull this off, and there's the spiral up cutter already. That's the 3/8 spiral cutter. I'm going to go back a little and across and page down. Now, I don't have the spindle turned on at the moment. Everything's just, I try and keep it as safe as possible. Now this is the touch plate that I was talking about last week. There's that little recess that I've got. Drop it in there, and this is the magnetic that completes the circuit when this comes down and touches that. So we'll do that next. And over here we've got Auto Z, and this corner is where I'm going to. And it's coming down. So it's coming down to this corner, and it's going to touch. Beautiful. Completed. Now it says orient with the y-axis. And, well, I thought it was that way. But anyway, let's click OK. Yep, it's going down the y-axis. I don't know why I did that. Normally it goes to x-axis first. There we go. Now it wants me to spin it around for the x-axis, which means the flutes have got to be 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, this direction. Being a spiral cutter, it's a little bit easier because it's got that actual curve in it. It's not a point. And I say, okay. So it's going to go over and touch that. And again, you may have seen me do this before, but there's a lot of people that this will be their first time to experience this kind of thing. All right, I'm totally touched. Oh, isn't that sweet? Now I can take this off and this out of there. And that may make a whole lot more sense as to why I've done that. All right, I'm not going to put the dust boot on. I'm going to make sure that you'll be able to see where the machine goes to. That all looks pretty good there. Come in a little bit closer and you may even see it start up. I'll try. I'm watching out on the other room as well, see what's happening. Now, things that I need to do whilst you're staring there. Oh, I'm having a look from in here. It's not too bad. I need a dust mask, and I should have got that out earlier. Let me see if I've got one here. David. No, I didn't bring it. All right, I'll throw this one on. Tried and true, the old faithful. I will sound like a bit like an alien when I've got this guy on. All right. Yep, there it goes. Down here is the spindle, which is now turned on, and the dust extractor. Again, I turn all these things on via this. It's sucking air there now. It's not going to get a lot, but it's going to get a bit. And what we do next is do a final check. I always do this. I check there's nothing on the board it's going to run into. I check the VFD again. I check everything's turned on there. I will now pull the shroud over my face. Good. Cycle start. Spinning up. And over here beside the stop button. Bring you in a bit closer. There you go. And to prove I was being safe, I was wearing this one as well. With the MDF, you really don't want to muck around with it. As I say, normally I would have had the boot over the dust extraction as well, but you saw a fair bit flew up the side. And now I'll aim that down, turn the dust extractor off, and the variable frequency drive I'll turn off. And the dust hood. Oh. Ah. All right. Now I'm going to raise her up and send her over to the middle a little bit. And then back down the... And I'll leave her parked there. Turn it all off. No, I don't want to save anything. Oh, I do want to shut it off, of course, yes. And that'll do me. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to go out to the other, turn that off as well. Hopefully it's still all going. Go to the main camera. Transition. Beautiful. So there you go. That was a bit of fun with the CNC. It's quick. It is quick. A little bit of mucking around at the beginning, but as I'm slowly getting used to the machine and the software, I'm picking the speeds up and upping my game with it, and it's very enjoyable. All right, next thing is we're going to have a look at some viewers' projects. I need my piece of paper for that and my coffee. Let's have a quick drink. Make comments if you're watching the premiere, make comments on the side. I think it's on that side. And it's a bit of fun. If you enjoy CNC, or if you hate CNC, I don't care. Throw your comment up if you want to. Okay, Gary Wilkins. Okay, Gary sent in a picture of a game that he builds. I'll throw it over. Hello, Dave. This is a game that is played in Colombia and some other South American countries. The object is you throw solid brass discs towards the board and you accumulate points. It can be a drinking game or just a fun scoring game up to whatever total is decided upon. Some people call it rana or supo, which means frog in Spanish. Let's go to the other picture. It's a little bit closer up and you can see the frogs. When I returned from Colombia, I recalled how to make them and do so for anyone who wants them. The hardest part is getting the frogs that attach to the top of the playing field from Colombia. I'm yet to find a company here that will die cast them for me. And back to me again. That was pretty cool. It's almost halfway between kind of a coconut shy and hoopla, and those boards you see at a fete that have got dowels sticking out of them, and you throw a ring over those, and there'll be a little plastic toy or something under it. But that's another theme on it. We're the same the world round. Pardon me. Next one is James Finger. He says, hello show, great. Hey Dave, great show again this week. A little something, here we go, I'll slide it across. If you need a viewer project in the future, just discovered the Patreon and jumped in. Okay, the gate is not much, but it came out well, he's saying. Quick build, made from Merbo decking for my brother to keep his dogs out of the side passage. Limited tools, just a circular saw, drill and Craig jig, 2 face frames and a guide box. Mostly pocket hole construction and finished with aquadeck. Wheels are a bit of a weak point, but were all I could find in steel at short notice. Of course, I got suckered into stripping back and re-oiling the much faded privacy screens to match after installing the gate too, didn't I? I'm sorry, I didn't read that terribly well. I include a before and after shot of that too. It came out great. Keep up the good work, James. That is a really nice gate. And I like the guide on the top as well, because that's going to restrict any kind of sideways traveling as the gate's rolling towards the privacy screen. That's really, really nice. Thanks for sending that in, James. I'll go to this one again. And as I said, my reading wasn't terribly good that time, but we'll get on to the next one. This is the last one, and as I encourage you to send stuff in. This is great. Everyone sharing what we're doing. And maybe you'll pick up an idea, or maybe you'll inspire someone else to do something. I'm sure there's lots of people who think, what James just did then? Of course, so easy, so easy. Mike Gorman is the next person. Now I'll throw a picture up of his cedar table. I hope this finds you, Dave. The table is red cedar. The story is I received a couple of cubic meters of it from someone, on condition if I made him a side table for the lounge room. It was very rough sawn timber, but as you see, it milled up okay. He was very happy with it, and it has an unseen drawer come out of the other end. Let me see what the next picture is. All right, look at this. It's a great hobby, this woodworking, and hasn't the price of timber skyrocketed from a few years ago? Love the show, and for mine you can show more CNC work. Well, I just did, Mike. I've just purchased one. I may, if this email works, send a photo of one of my first tries of a 2.5D carving. Well, it did work, Mike. Thank you very much. That's amazing. He bought that as a file from somewhere in Russia. And it looks beautiful. A beautiful sailing ship there. Very, very nostalgic. Love it. Thank you very much for sending that in. All right, next thing. We're going to sharpen the blade. Now, this is something, again, that a lot of people will know. They'll know it, but it's always nice to have a refresher. Now, you'll notice on the back of this blade, this is the one that's a nice, highly polished back on it, just up the top there. And that's how it will come up. So I'm going to be doing this one. I'll move my board there, move that run sheet down there, and with there, I'll grab the other camera and bring it in. Hopefully it stays connected and I don't have to turn things off and back on again. All right, if I get the camera to about there and tip it down, let me see how that looks. Second camera, yep, maybe up just a touch and in a bit closer. I think that'll be fine. Yep, I do. Switch her over. There we go. I have this board here and I'll grab the stones. Now, because I'm using 6-inch stones, it's not really very easy to use the Veritas honing guide. I'm going to run with the coarse. It says extra coarse there, and the other one being coarse is pointing down. So this side is the coarse side, and pop it in its holder. That's good. It's not sliding around because it's on the strips that are on my bench. And I'm using this. Now, this is not an ad for that company's water. I've drilled a 1/8 hole in the top, and I've got water and just standard old washing up liquid. That one there, whatever, whoever's, it doesn't really matter, just as long as it's a washing up liquid. Now, I found, this is advice from Jim Davey to use this. It's cheap, and it's going to keep the stone clean, and it gives a bit more slip. And it's funny, after I put it on, it spreads out, because this is detergent is what's called a surfactant, which means it reduces the surface tension of the water. And this is the one we're going to work on. So I'm just popping it down like that. I'm going to hold onto it underneath, but not to do anything. It's basically just to steady it so it doesn't rock up and down at all. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but the water is now coming up really filthy, and it's not dirt. What it is, it's metal filings, or it's very, very fine. That's looking great, and that's coarse. Now this is the part that I liked. You watch this when I put the water on it. Can you see it spreading out? It's pushing all of that residue away. I might see if Calcam will do it any better. It might. Let's do it Calcam for the moment. Okay, so you can see that's the great thing about the higher resolution. I'll spin it around. Always use as much of the stone as possible. Keeps the wear even. And also something I noticed Jim was doing, he was pushing the blade like so, not like so as much. And I tried that, and it works quite well because it's concentrating all of the effort to the, pointing to the wrong camera, it's concentrating all the effort to the tip there. Now you watch that stone when I put the water on. See how it cleans it straight away? It just sheds everything out to the sides. I'm going to come back to the second camera because it's easier to see things. There we go. Maybe if I bring it over a little bit closer even. What do you think? About there. Just as long as we get all of this edge constant so that there's no other direction from the sharpening. That's pretty good. I'm going to take that one out. Come on, out you come. They kind of stick themselves in there. And I'm going to use the fine. I think you can see that there. See how it says fine? With a little arrow up. And the magic liquid. How good is this? I love it. Now you'll notice I haven't touched the bevel yet because the bevel needs a bit of work. So I'm going to do the bevel very soon on the Sorby Pro Edge because it's even changing the belts, it's quicker and it gives me a very accurate result. The only problem with using all the water is it's sliding around a little bit. Magic. Extra fine. I'll get a rag if I've got any there. Like so. That's better. Okay, this is extra fine. I should really make a station for this. That's a project. There's a project if you've made a station for a stone, send a picture in for me. There we go. That's fine. All right. Now I'm going to just check that I have gone to extra fine. I have. Good. Move these out of the way. And I'll bring the camera. I'll switch over to the main one again. So I'm still here. Now this part, I'm going to move the camera over to the Pro Edge. The thing about this is that whilst it does a great job, it is a little time consuming changing belts. Now if I was naughty, I wouldn't put the guard on, but I'm not naughty. I will use the guard. But the thing is you line up around about 5 or 6 or 20 blades at once. You go through each grit on each blade before you switch the grits over. And then it is super quick. I'll go to second camera and you can see where I'm at. Excellent. I'll turn it around just a bit more. Lovely. Hope you can see that okay. And we need to have the blade over there, of course. I've forgotten that, haven't I, David? Ah, there it is. Found it. All right. I'm going to pop the headset on because it's dealing with metal filings. It's getting a good workout, this guy today. Now what we've got here is I've set the machine up to 25 degrees. Down the front here tells me all the angles and what they're for. This here is an adjustable guide that I'm going to put the blade beside. Now I can loosen those and make this pivot on that point. This is a slotted hole, this is not. So I can get it perfect 90 degrees. The easiest way to do that is when it's set up at 90 degrees to the belt, perpendicular to the belt, use a square without the belt on. Get this perfect, and then when you lower it down to 25 degrees, it is really, really good. I've got a 120 grip belt on there. I'll just check that it's running nicely. Indeed it is. I do have the screw on down here for this guy, but I'm using Derek's little invention, which is fantastic. Keeps me safe. The guard back on again, face visor, and let's see if we can clean this up. If it doesn't take long. I don't slide it. Nearly there. Give me a second. I'm going to put a clamp on here so it doesn't rock around. That's good. And you can see I've got a little bit more to do there on that side. Nearly there. And you did hear me say that I don't slide it sideways. Well, I just did a little bit. Nearly there. Now this is going to come off on the micro bevel, so I'm not overly concerned. But the good thing about doing this, as I take a bit more off the face, it is really truing up back here because I was not quite to the edge. You find sometimes the edges roll over even on the back. So taking a little bit off the bevel extra can remedy that rather than trying to flatten the blade and be there for a million years. Bit more to do. Notice there's no bluing at all. Just magic. So with the 60 and the 120 grit belt, that's perfect. Come on. With the 60, this is a 120, with the 60 and the 120, it does not get hot. See that? Well, obviously if I was to leave it there for an hour, yes, it'd get hot. But that's just beautiful. Now, I'm using one screw on the, or one nut to make it quicker to change belts. And we'll pull this back this way, it releases it. That's the 120. The next one I'm going to go to is a 240. And this is an aluminium oxide belt. Always put the belt in the arrow direction. See the arrow there? I know a lot of people will be saying, oh Dave, I just use a belt sander. Well, good on you. You're not going to get the same kind of a result as what you will with this. 120, and that's all hooked on. Let's see the tracking spine. Turn the helmet back on. Okay, this is where it can start to warm up. Done. That's quick. Sorry, 240 that was. I'll go to a 600 belt next. So it's aluminium oxide, and the 600 is a block pattern. These are a 3M belt. All right, and it doesn't really show any direction, so you don't worry about it. I've just written 600 on it. It's an A30 is what it's called. Clicker. Put this one back on. If they had a better nut, it might be good for changing, so it's just a little cam action. That'd be nice. Now I've got to be careful with this one that I don't leave it on too long. I don't know if you can see, that's 600. These are a Trizact belt. T-R-Y-S-A-C-T, I think they're called. Trizact. That's the 600. Next one's going to be the 1200. The 1200 and the 3000 are hard to identify between each other. So I write on them. There it is. So it's an A16. Again, no non-directional. Just whichever way you go, I think. Put this guy back on. Yeah, if I had a few chisels and plane blades, you can see how quick it'd be. But that's absolute magic. Here we go. It's nearly done. That's done. And then the last one's the 3000. This is getting it down to, a couple of microns, which is great. There we go. And this one, I've got to be careful not to burn, because this will glue up pretty quick, because this is a really high polish that's happening here. Done. All right. Take it back. I'm hoping you saw that. Back to there, and take this bad boy off again. It's a great helmet. All right, sound is still tracking. The recording is still happening, and I've got the old workshop sign swinging away up there. That's just beautiful. All right, now I'm going to finish that off. To do that, I'll bring this board back and give it another quick wipe. Now, some people like a hollow grind that you get with the water wheels, and some people like a flat grind that you get with the Pro Edge. They both work. They both work. All right, the stone, we're just going to go straight in with the fine, I think. Not the extra, we'll just go the fine. Not there, David, come on. Wake up. Where's the support? Where'd I put it? That's embarrassing. Well, it's not that one, because that's the case. There it is, beside the helmet. Now, I will put it in the Mark II, and I'll set the Mark II I'll bring this around again because it's easier to watch while I'm doing this. About there. We'll switch this across to the second camera. All right. This is the Veritas Mark II registration jig. I only work with the standard angle. Everything yellow, there's little yellow marks down here. They're the ones I work with, all right? I don't know about the green and the red one. I have no idea. Now, on the top here is a little kind of a dovetail, the female section of the dovetail. And on the front of the body of the jig itself is the male part of the dovetail. So I'll slide that onto there. I know the blade is 2 inches wide. So down here, I don't know if you can see it. It's not very bright there, is it? Anyway, there's a little mark there. It says 2. And there's a little cursor there. So I'm going to tighten it up where that cursor is. 25 degrees is the angle I've just sharpened, but I want it steeper than that for the micro bevel. So I'm going to release this and I'm going to come back to where it says 30. Right there. There's little indents that help you out. I'm going to open the clamps up. Of course, the blade is going to go into there. And we'll do that now. We'll slide the blade in. And I'm going to tighten the clamps up whilst it's in there straight. There's two kind of clamping bodies that these guys have, that Veritas have. This clamp is fine for a wide blade. They've got a narrow blade holder as well, so anything less than, say, 3/4 of an inch, it squeezes it from the side, not this way. And that's a handy thing. Now I can take the jig off, the registration jig. And there you go. The blade is set to the right length on here. Now, you can do this. They have a way of micro bevel. And so I've got it set at the main bevel at the moment. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it the way that they say. All right, I'll take it back to 25 degrees and it'll make them happy. I'll say, Dave, why are you showing people that? And then, I don't know. I don't know. Now I'm going to slide it up to the 25 degrees because it's been a while since I've used it. Slide it up to 25, tighten it up, tighten it up. It wasn't going to be a demonstration on how to use this jig, but it just turned into one. Now I'm at the right length, so from here to there is 25 degrees. So it's come straight off the Pro Edge, and that's perfect. Now, I'm not going to run it at 25. I'm going to get a hold of this little knob here. This is a cam, and it pushes the wheel, this rolling brass wheel. It's going to bring it down a little bit. So it's going to give me what's called the micro bevel. If I point that around to 12 o'clock, now it's picked it up ever so slightly, just a little bit. A little bit of water on here. And the problem with a 6-inch stone, is that there's not a lot of room for me to travel with the jig. That's looking pretty fine. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but the micro bevel is coming up nicely. I'll work the other end of the stone. It's always crucial to work as much of the stone as possible. That's pretty good. I'm going to switch the stone over to the extra fine side. Go again. That's it. Take it out of the jig. I could have done that freehand, and I probably would have been okay. Let's have a look. I don't know if we're going to see that micro bevel or tall or not, but it's there, believe me. Okay, now I'm going to strop it. I normally just strop with my hand, but I'm going to use this, which I've just recently discovered, and it is brilliant. I love it. It's a, I forget the name of the mob. This is their rouge, or their polish. If I bring this along here, it might work better for you. Like so. Move a couple of things out of the way. And we're going to just work on the back of the blade for a second. And that's coming up nicely, and then we're going to pull it ever so slowly, or pull it back along the leather. Now we're on the coarse side of the leather at the moment. And now we're going to turn her over, and we're going to go on the other side. This is the fine leather. Flex cut, of course. And I'm going to just pull it backwards on this side. I'm not going to go forwards at all. And on this side, I have no polish. This is just straight on the smooth leather. And now also on the smooth leather. I guess I could have put it in the Veritas Mark II, but I'm dragging it by hand. I think that'll be enough. And the last little bit, just to finish knocking the burr off. That is super duper sharp. Very, very keen. And it's nice and square as well. Like I've had people say, Dave, I don't think the, let's see if I can find a square in there. Move this. Yeah, there's my square. They say that they're having little issues. Let me see if I can bring it up a little higher, with the blade actually being square with the Pro Edge. But you know, I can't see it getting much better than that. That's pretty good. All right, now when we put it in the plane, and that's the next thing we've got to do, we're going to rebuild the plane. This is the fun part. Before we start to rebuild the plane, what I want to do is show you quickly a way of tuning the base of the plane. So I use a piece of 10mm float glass, which also has, what happened there? I was sitting on something underneath. One of the screwdrivers, possibly. Yep. All right, I have a piece of 10mm float glass sitting on top of this. It's not going anywhere. And I'll use a piece of 400 grit cloth-backed sandpaper, making sure that everything is sitting nicely. Okay, then the plane itself, there's the sole. I could mark it with a texter or a Sharpie, but it's just a matter of backwards and forwards, equal pressure. I'm pushing down with the heel of my hand and the front with my fingers. And it'll show pretty quickly where you're out. But that's the quickest way to get a nice flat surface. You can do the sides as well if you want. But if you've got a nice chunk of glass that's not going to break, float glass is very, very flat. All right, what next? We're going to reassemble this thing. May as well do it down here, I guess. Why not? All right. Yes. A bit closer. There we go. With mine, I've painted it satin black for the body. And with the Turner planes, the date of manufacture is in this part in the casting where the tote or the handle is. Now, what I want to do is I want to put the frog adjusting screw in first. And it lives in down here. I'll grab one of my screwdrivers. And I use a wide blade screwdriver for this. Oh, come on, turn it around this way so I can see what's happening at the same time as you're watching. There she goes. Now don't put it all the way home, just put it in so it's got started. The frog itself, this is the frog, and I painted this high gloss because that's how they were. The frog itself has already got this. This is a little follow-up with a screw that I put in. You've got the wishbone here. The wishbone you can take out with a little 2.5mm straight punch, if you wish. And this is a left-hand thread for the blade depth adjustment wheel that goes on there. We'll put that on there now. And when you put it on, just get it started and then make sure the wishbone is, oh, come on, you can do it, is going to line up so it'll drop in to this recess here. I could, if I wanted to, put a little bit of oil on there, or camellia oil, to make this a really easy turning situation. Now, what's happening as I'm turning that in, it's pushing this other side back that direction, and that's going to pull the blade up. So turning counterclockwise raises the blade. Now I'm all the way down, and I've got that below it, and this is your blade lateral adjustment lever, and that little part there goes inside this section here of the blade. So what I want to do now is pop this in, and then as I turn this, that screw under there, that adjustment screw, when I get it in there, there we go, it advances the frog. So it's pushing it and it's closing up the mouth. I'm undoing it now because I don't want the mouth closed up too much. It's closing the mouth up here. Now the reason we open and close the mouth is because we've got timber going across and the blade gets it and starts to lift it. And we don't want to tear the timber all the way back this way. So when the mouth is it's a narrow opening in the mouth, it kind of breaks that shaving off quickly rather than allowing it to just tear straight up and ruin your piece of work that you're working on. Now there's two of these screws and they hold the frog in position. With Turners, the frogs are aluminium, or if you guys in the States would say aluminum. And this is always a part that I need the Turner screwdriver because it's a slightly smaller blade. Turn it around this way so you can see what's going on. Slightly smaller blade than my Stanley. Let's put it in there first. It's a little bit awkward doing this when someone's watching. You'll notice the holes down here in the frog. I'll bring it up closer. Just there. Those holes are slotted, which allows the frog to travel backwards and forwards. And these screws are actually going to lock the frog in position when I get it to the right length, or get the mouth open to the right size. You have to do all this before the blade goes in. Obviously you can't get to those after the blade's in. All right, that's pretty good there. And I've got this all the way, so it's raised the blade all the way to the top. I'm now going to put the tote on. And the tote, I love these. I polish these up. Now there's a trick for these as well. cellulose acetate shrinks. Now, I did not know this until Jim Davey told me at the show just recently down at Canberra, the Timber Tools and Artisans show. So I set up, and I'll bring this camera over here, if it will let me, without disconnecting. Should be fine. See that? I've got a drill bit in here with a stop. So I did not turn the lathe on. I've got the lathe just holding the drill bit. And then I put the tote on it and turn slowly. And you can see it's opening it up ever so slowly. And I've got the depth correct. And then continue it as I undo it. Lovely. That's a trick. And that allows, put that down there and down there again, so you can see what's happening. That allows the brass nut on the end of this double-ended bolt to sit there perfectly. And you've got washers there as well. Now, if you do it too much, you can put a second or third washer in. It's not going to be the end of the earth. So that's the knob, sorry, that goes with this one there, and I need to put a washer in there. I'll put that on now. So there you go. You can clean these up. There's a little bump like a keyway there. And there we go. I'm going to use the large screwdriver for this one. The larger the blade for these things, the less chance of stuffing up the brass. Now I think I'll put a washer in under that as well a little bit later on. Now this one, let me see, I've got two washers on there for any reason. No. I'll take one of those washers off and use it on that one. Somehow I got them mixed up. Then there's sometimes also, you might have to cut the end off. I had to grind this a little bit as well, because the acetate shrinks long ways as well. It's just a full shrink. There, that's better. Beautiful. All right, now this one, it has 2 points of connection, and sometimes you'll have to get a Dremel and open the back because it shrinks this way, or elongate this hole here. So we'll put that in, move that over to there, get it started, and again use the larger of the two screwdrivers there, and then this one with a little washer on it as well. Now this is a black steel on purpose. I don't know why, but it's not a shiny one. And I'm going to use the smaller blade on that one to get in there. Come on, you can do it. There we go. And just have to be careful tightening these up. I like to dress the screws if I can, which means the slot is going to be, all the exposed ones, the slots are going to be running northwest like I've done on this one. Just as long as they're all the same direction, then it doesn't bug my OCD, whatever it is. And gotcha. So that one also is dressed the same direction. Just makes a big difference to the look of something. All right, now the blade, we just sharpened a blade. So let's get that, there it is, right here. And the backing iron. Now they're going to go onto there. There's a screw, and you put the screw in the backing iron to start, maybe half a turn, and you put it on by that, slide it forwards, and then rotate it so that you're not actually touching the tip of the blade with the backing iron. Now I'm going to tighten that up, and I leave around about a millimetre. I hand tighten to start, then push it down on a bench, and that lines everything up for me. Done. All right, give it a nip, put it down if I want to give it to it, because I don't want the screwdriver to slip and go through there. That'd be terrible. I'll show you what I'm doing here. The edge of the bench is a great place for the screwdrivers to go. I love it. All right, back around here. And as I said, the blade with the bevel down, this part that we just sharpened on the Sorby is going to be facing down. That large screw is going to go into that recess there. And we'll make sure that the lever cap is in the center. Drop the blade on. And this screw here goes into the frog. And that holds the lever cap in position. Now it doesn't need to be tightened up yet, just a little bit. We'll get the lever cap, and also with the lever cap, I put a little bit of oil in there and there. Okay, to make that nice and easy to turn. I'll drop the lever cap in. Now I push back on the blade, making sure that everything is lining up. So I want that in the right position. I have a look down the bottom that the blade is sitting in the mouth nicely in the middle. Push down on the lever cap and centering it. Sorry if my hands are getting in the way. And when I've got everything, when all the planets have aligned, then I only hold it there and squeeze there and there. Now I fluked it, that's the right tension. You don't want them too tight, otherwise you'll bend the frog in this. This is an aluminium frog. So there we go, we've got the blade in, everything's done. Now I can tune up by going the other way, which is clockwise, because it's a bit tight right at the beginning. And I'll switch cameras again, because this part is probably going to be easier watching from my perspective. Okay. Now I try and find something around the room that's white, and it's not too hard in here, but it's so much easier doing this with daylight outside. And then you sight down the top, down the foot or the sole of the plane, and we're looking for that blade to start appearing. So I'm just going to slowly, the screen on the monitor is not too bad. I'll work with that. So I'm holding it by the knob, and I'm finding the right hand side, this side, is starting to show its head. Now I'm going to move the lever cap towards that pronounced part of the blade, and it should take it back down and start lifting the left hand side of the blade, which it has. Now that's perfect. You may not think it, but it is. And I'm going to prove how good it is by getting a piece of timber, and let's see if we can plane it. Now, have I got any wood here? That's the question. What have I got? What have I got? What have I got? Must have something kicking around. What about... I've got an old piece of pine. All right. And I don't know if it's a bit wonky, but that's okay. Move this back. Get a clamp, or that and that. We should be good. A couple of dogs from John. Where are we? That one and that one. And I'll put one in here. Wait for that to drop. Got it. And up here. Done. Open this up, slide her in. And down this end. We don't really need to do this, but I'm going to. There we go. I'll move this camera up this end, and we're just about finished for the show. Drop this down and up slightly. Switch cameras again. This show's going to be a little bit longer than normal. All right, about there. You can see what's going to happen. We'll go through it very finely tuned at the moment. What do you think? Whoop. Switch cameras, switch cameras, switch cameras. There we go. That's the first pass. And some people will say, oh, Dave, you just put the plane down on the bench. Rubber strip. It's not going to worry me. Now, there's two ways of planing. Straight away like that. There's a little bit of a dip there in the middle. So they've come up nice. You can do it like that, or some people prefer to hold a plane like this, and then it doesn't wander. And I get a better result when I do it that way. All right. Main camera. Who won? Who won? Who won? There we go. Who won the scrapers? These bad boys. Let me see if I can grab them. Come on, off you get. 3 of them. Sorry for the show taking longer today. All right. 3 of these. 1 each. You're going to get whatever color it is. It's unlucky. Here we go. We've got Dave Dorman, James Finger, and Brett Guthrie. There you go. You're all going to get one of those. I'll send you an email, or if I haven't sent you an email already, send one to me with your address, and I'll pop them in the mail for you, and out it'll go. I'm also going to do another iMuffs giveaway international this week as well. I'll put a link in the description box down the bottom. Keep watching this show. I'm hoping to get it better for you. I've covered a heap of stuff in both camps, hand tools and CNC. I've got a project on at the moment that's going to require the CNC and hand tools and box joints and everything. It's going to be fun. I'm so looking forward to it. Everyone in the Patreon page know what it is, and I'm hoping they're not going to tell anyone because that's their little club. And if you enjoyed the show, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click that link down there, and also ring the bell. If you like what I'm doing, it really does encourage me. If I see some numbers coming along, I think, well, it's worthwhile. If I don't see the numbers, I think, well, why am I doing this for? No one's watching. Okay, tell your friends about it. Look after yourselves. Be nice to each other. And I shall see you all. Hold on before I go. Who would like to see Ian Kerry back? I want to see him back. He's got the passion. He got me hooked on these bloody things. And he might have some really interesting stuff as well. So let me know in the comment section below if you want Ian to come on the show again, and then I'll badger him and say, Ian, public demand. All right, I think that is the lot. Look after yourselves, be nice to each other, and I shall see you next week.